Alrighty, guys. So, actually, I know my dad's an Eagles fan and I'm a Giants fan, but I can't help but feel bad for the Dallas Cowboys because they've been, 30 years now. They haven't gotten to an NFC championship. There are some obnoxious Cowboys fans that are certainly in people's lives or just like them because of the star. But the Cowboys fans aren't really you can't say that they're bandwagoners anymore because their team gets into the playoffs, but their team can never close the deal. I would say that against Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers was the guy that was really withholding Dallas back. I mean, Aaron Rodgers' stardom in that playoff game with Dak when Dak was a rookie, that was honestly the Cowboys' best team is when Dak was a dead rookie. And then a couple of years later, they went to L.A., they went to the Rams, and they got just absolutely beaten on the ground. So you look at Dallas, Minnesota with Brett Favre, they got their asses kicked on defense. And then against the Rams, they didn't have the better roster, and the Rams just kicked their ass with C.J. Anderson, a backup running back, and now Brock Purdy goes out and beats them. Now, unlike that Rams team, unlike Minnesota, I believe that this Niners team is just, top of the top, just a tremendous football team. I think that their defense is fantastic. DeMeco Ryans and all of these guys. So, I think that they're a great football team. I really do. The San Francisco 49ers are just better in every area. The Cowboys defense actually showed up and played a great brand of football. The offense, it's very tough for the offensive line to block, and losing Tony Pollard hurts. It's just that at quarterback, you have to have a star. And CeeDee Lamb, again, I like him. He's a very good receiver, but he's a number 2 receiver. He's not an alpha number 1 receiver. He's not A.J. Brown. His physical traits are limited in terms of his speed, in terms of his size. He's good at catching the football. He's good at running routes, but he's kind of like a great slot guy that's like a number 2 receiver that's a very good number 2 receiver. Dalton Schultz is a decent tight end. So at tight end, you have Ferguson and Dalton Schultz and Pollard, but Dak can't really run. And Dak Prescott is just an okay quarterback. He's kind of in that mold of Jared Goff, where he is just okay, but when he gets to play the elite of the elite defenses, he's not going to be that good. And Dak has to develop accuracy, has to continue to develop pocket presence. So I think that they do need more weapons, and their offensive line needs to be good. You need to build your offense exactly like Detroit has built it with Ben Johnson, which is heavy run game and heavy play action. You need to be a smash mouth team first, and then Dak needs to be a guy that's a supporter. He's not going to uplift the entire offense, but he can be a complementary quarterback and be very, very accurate. I think if you put Dak on the New York Jets, I think that they are better. So Dak Prescott, a little bit like Derek Carr in that sense. I mean, Dak is clutcher than Carr. Dak is still a winner, still a big guy, but those injuries like the torn ACL was just brutal, and Dak's now almost 30 years old, and his legs are kind of gone, and his arm strength is just average, so he's going to have to pivot towards being this Jared Goff distributing type of quarterback in the quick game. Can he do that? Because at Mississippi State, he was always the best athlete on the field. In the NFL, he was a superstar his first 3 years with his legs and just being like a better athlete than most defensive linemen. But right now, he's slower. The D linemen are just as fast as Dak Prescott. So Prescott needs a lot of help around him. And we'll see what the Cowboys' resources are they able to do that. I mean, if you're the Cowboys, you would certainly look at an Anthony Richardson, who is just a freak as an athlete, a guy that I believe can win at the highest level, can get you to a Super Bowl, and you can have a shot at winning with Anthony Richardson. He's a star. Bryce Young is a very good quarterback, but I believe he's going to go first overall pick. Believe it or not, in this draft, I'd have Stroud number 1. I think Stroud is my favorite quarterback in this draft. I think he's going to play the longest. He's 6'5", just a bigger overall guy, a pocket passer. that's very accurate, that plays in the pocket. I believe that Stroud can have like a Joe Burrow-like career. I really do, like Peyton Manning, and be like that type of surgeon that you need back there. Bryce Young, I do see being Russell Wilson, having a great, having great years as a, having great years as a young quarterback. He's going to have to put on weight though, and it's just his size and his weight. I don't know how late he can play, but I could see him being possibly a Hall of Famer if he is around those great teams and if he can win those championships. Unfortunately for Bryce Young, I mean, if he's in a tough situation with his body, he is, at the risk of getting injured. Then you look at Anthony Richardson. Richardson, I believe, is going to be from years 20 to 27, he's going to be great. But once he starts to slow down, once he cannot get away from those defensive linemen, I don't view Richardson as developing into like a surgeon quarterback. Now, the thing about Richardson is he can throw the ball and he can grow in that realm. So that's the thing, is that you want to utilize Richardson's legs and you want him to be the superstar talent. I believe Richardson, though, can play into his, young 30s and be effective. So I see like 8 years of Richardson, but I can see Stroud playing for like 15 years. So I see Richardson playing like 6 years of elite level ball and then really tailing off and hitting that cliff. Because that's the thing. When you have quarterbacks who really run and get hit, their lifespans in the NFL, they diminish. So that's what you really have to analyze about quarterbacks. And now we're seeing a lot of quarterbacks that are running, quarterbacks that are taking big shots in the running game. And so their careers are going to be shorter spanned than quarterbacks that are pocket guys. That is just, kind of that's just kind of common sense, right? When you're hanging in the pocket, you're Joe Burrow, you're not really running around, you can play longer. You're Mac Jones, you're Jared Goff. You look at some of the quarterbacks that play deep and late into their years. I mean, Steve McNair played, a very long career. Culpepper and Randall Cunningham. I mean, Cunningham, again, would run, but these are big guys. McNabb played a while. Tony Romo, Eli, Flacco, Rivers. These guys were able to play a lot. And the game didn't change that much for them because they were staying in the pocket. Of course, Tom Brady. But now you're looking at Aaron Rodgers at 38. He's a guy that had to rely on his athleticism a lot. He wouldn't take shots. He wouldn't really run. But, that's the thing. So you got to analyze that. And for Dak, who has limited kind of physical traits, in terms of like how big his arm is right now at this stage in his career, he's going to have to kind of try to be groomed into a Jared Goff and be like a top 15 guy. And then you got to get the defense around him. You got to build a complete team around Dak. Unfortunately, with the contracts of maybe Lamb and Ezekiel Elliott, the good news is that they got off of that Amari Cooper contract. So you can't just build a team that's all built on offense. You got to build a complete team if you're the Dallas Cowboys and you hope to win. And so Dak can get you to a certain point, but even Van Der Esch, he's going to want a lot of money, and I love Leighton Van Der Esch as a player. He's one of my favorite players from Riggins, Idaho. Just a stud, just very dependable, great teammate, great story from small town Idaho. I don't think that he's going to progress into, I think that this is the peak of Van Der Esch, and it's kind of all downhill from here. It hurts to say these things, but this is just the lifespan of the NFL. These are just real conversations on this show, and it's tough because I love Prescott. I really do. I really like Dak a lot. He's one of my favorites. CeeDee Lamb, Leighton Van Der Esch. I say this all being a Giants fan. I like these players. I like Ezekiel Elliott. I love Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is one of my all-time favorites as a coach, as a quarterback at Boise State. And so this is a very likable team. I know Jerry Jones can be very cocky. I know that Dallas fans can be cocky. But you just look at the players and the characters on this team with Micah Parsons and Marcus Lawrence. These are all really good guys. Micah Parsons has really, I would say that at Penn State, he had some things against him. People were questioning his overall maturity, but he's come into this NFL, and he's really been a face on this defense and has really matured. So that pick was a sensational pick by the Dallas Cowboys. That pick really panned out. He hasn't been a problem at all from a locker room standpoint. He hasn't been. At Penn State, there were questions about, does Micah Parsons really get along with his teammates? Is he really day in and day out at Penn State? Was he doing things in the best interest of the entire football team? Was he mature enough as a leader, Micah Parsons? And that's why he went 10th overall. Okay, there's a reason that the Giants and Eagles passed on him. It wasn't because of the talent. It was because of maturity stuff. And the Dallas Cowboys took a chance on Parsons, and it's paid off big time. He's been great for them, okay? So, all right, so that is what we are talking about on the show right now, guys. So that's what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys. That's a problem with them. Too many contracts. They're a top-heavy football team. They're kind of like the Buffalo Bills. That is the problem. When you look at Buffalo, it's just Josh Allen and Diggs. It's not a complete football team.